안녕하세요. 저는 참가번호 2번 한국국제학교의 최준용입니다. 저는 우연히 어느 날 학교 근처에 4.3 유적지인 큰넓게가 있다는 사실을 알게 되어서 이 사실을 알리고 싶어 이 대회에 참여하게 되었습니다. 이 대회에서 열심히 해서 좋은 성적을 거두고 싶습니다. 감사합니다. Do you know who Anne Frank is? Although you might not have read her diary, you surely would have heard about the tragic story of Anne Frank, who wrote of her dreams of the future while witnessing the horrors of the Jewish Holocaust by Nazi Germany. Anne was a young and fun-loving girl. However, her dreams were trapped like a bird in a cage. 8 Jews, including Anne herself, hid themselves in a hideout in Amsterdam for 2 years and 2 months. Anne had to live in a state of constant tension. She could not use fire or water frequently, and she had to always speak silently. Also, she could only bathe once a week. Separated by just a few years from the time Anne lived in the hideout, the beautiful island of Jeju in Korea was experiencing a similar tragedy in even worse conditions. More than 100 villagers had evacuated to their hideout for 2 months. Their hideout was not even a house or a hut, but it was a cave called Kunnorke with a very narrow pathway. The villagers escaped to Kunnorke because of the persecution of Korean soldiers who deemed them to be the Reds, meaning radical communists. However, most of the people living in Jeju had nothing to do with communism. Some were even children in the similar age to Anne Frank. One of the survivors of Kunnorke is Ms. Hong Chun-ho. She was only 11 years old at that time. Her account to life in Kunnorke is tragic and awful. There were little food or water to drink, so she had to survive with potatoes and barley scavenged from outside of the cave at night. She had to drink water falling from the ceiling of the cave or water on the ground inside the cave using a straw made out of silver grass. Moreover, she had to defecate in a small jar inside the cave because she couldn't go outside. Ms. Hong Chun-ho said, "We live like animals, even worse than animals." However, just a young child at that time, she said to her father, "I want to see the stars at night." Unable to go outside, she did not know if it was day or night. However, despite those deficient conditions, the young girl wanted to see the beautiful stars. The people who escaped to both Amsterdam and Kunnorke experienced tragic ends. Anne and the others were caught by German soldiers and were taken to a concentration camp. In the concentration camp, Anne witnesses the deaths of her loved ones, and she herself dies by typhoid fever. Likewise, a considerable number of people who evacuated to Kunnorke died by fleeing from Korean soldiers. Among them, about 40 people were massacred nearby Jeongbang Waterfall, which is now a popular tourist site. Both of these tragedies originated from the fear and hatred of people with different races and ideologies. The victims were ordinary civilians who were uninterested in those political struggles, including children who were unaware of the world. Freedom, a fundamental human right, was destroyed. Anne's dream of becoming an author vanished in a concentration camp, and the dreams of the people who lived in Kunnorke also ended in a massacre. Today, Anne's diary became a worldwide bestseller, and the hideout that she hid in Amsterdam became a museum to commemorate the tragedy. However, here in Jeju, there are numerous people who live like animals in a cave and couldn't even leave any record. Those are the victims of the Jeju massacre, long forgotten by Koreans and the world. Today, Jeju is a beautiful island in April with the sea of canola flowers and cherry blossoms all over the island. Many tourists pass by Kunnorke without a second thought on their way to Shinhwa World, which is a famous amusement park. However, I strongly urge those people to reflect on the tragedy that happened 74 years ago nearby a place where we now have fun and enjoyment with our families and friends. Thank you for listening.